Hello guys, we're here for Leviticus 19. And spoke Yahweh. Yahweh, as always, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, as one God, speaks to Moses and tells him to speak to all of the congregation, basically all of the peoples of Israel, and say to them, Holy you shall be, for holy I am. Now, this is a statement of the Old Testament, and it is repeated in the New Testament, I believe. Well, let's look at the word. Holy does not mean perfect. It means sacred, holy, set apart. So basically, from the context, okay? Sacred, holy, set apart, okay? So you are to be sacred, holy, and set apart, just as Yahweh, your God, plural and singular both, is holy and sacred and set apart. Now that has a deep meaning because technically what it means is just as God is different from everything else, we're supposed to be that much different from everything else around us. We're not supposed to be like it. Even Scripture in the New Testament says that you are to be different from the world. You're not to be like the world. You're to be in the world, not of the world. And it says, every one of you, his father and mother, shall revere. The word here, revere, is reverence. Okay? Not fear as in be afraid of, but reverence. Have extreme respect for. And my Sabbaths, the meaning the Sabbath day, Sabbath days, keep. I am Yahweh your God. Singular and plural. As always, I try to teach you guys, Yahweh speaks to God from the standpoint of one singular God, which is what this name right here is, which can be translated as Yahweh or Jehovah, because when we hover over Yahweh, Jehovah, the existing one, the proper name of the true God. So as you see, Yahweh, Jehovah, same thing. So when someone says Jehovah, they're saying Yahweh, you know. And God, being plural, pointing to the individuality within the one God. Not do turn to idols and gods, in this case molded gods created by hands, nor make for yourselves. I am Yahweh your God. And this is what the Israelites broke in the desert when they made the calf. And if you offer a sacrifice of a peace offering, that would be, I believe that would be free will choosing, not mandatory, optional, okay? As you see here, voluntary sacrifice of thanks. I want you to see that, okay? So peace offering is voluntary. And when you offer a sacrifice to Yahweh of your own free will, which is why it says right here free will, because it's pointing to the fact that it is voluntary, as we see by the description, you shall offer it. The same day you offer it, it shall be eaten, and on the next day, if any remains until the third day, in the fire it shall be burned, and if at all it is eaten on the third day, it is an abomination. It will be accepted. Therefore, everyone who eats it is iniquity, okay, perversity, depravity, guilt, shall bear, because what is holy of Yahweh he has profaned. So basically you have disrespected what is holy of Yahweh, and shall be cut off, this person, from his people, exiled. Now we have the next section, and this ties, as you see, with Romans 13, 8 and 9. And when you reap the harvest of your land, so whenever you collect your harvest, not you shall wholly reap the corners of the field. Okay? So now they're talking about when you're like, this would be in the days when you were a farmer, way back then, okay? And when you collected your harvest, you shall not reap the corners. Why? And the gleaning of your harvest, what is gleaning? Let's see. Gleaning. It just says gleanings, okay, of your harvest. Nor shall you gather And your vineyards, not you shall glean, and every grape of your vineyard, nor shall you gather. Now here's why. For the poor and the stranger you shall leave them. So when it says here, do not collect every single grape, do not collect every single harvest, but leave the corners of the field for who? The poor and the stranger. So that's who that's who you're leaving that for. So God takes care of the poor and the destitute and the stranger by leaving a section of the harvest for those people. And you shall leave it for them. I am Yahweh your God. Not you shall steal. Okay, so this is Leviticus 19. Nor deal falsely, nor lie to anyone. So, now here's the catch. We saw the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments do not have stealing in it necessarily. It does have coveting. And the Ten Commandments do not have lying in it. Okay. But now we see in Leviticus 19, there are more rules given in. Okay. You shall not deal falsely, right? Deal falsely. What is deal falsely? To deceive. That's what it means, to deceive, to act deceitfully. Nor lie, right? You shall not lie, be false to one another. And not you shall swear by my name falsely, nor shall you profane the name of the Lord your God. I am Yahweh. Not you shall cheat your neighbor, nor rob him. Not shall remain all night the wages of him who is hired with you until morning. Pay him what he's due. You shall not curse the deaf. Okay, do not speak ill of those who are deaf. And before the blind, nor. So it doesn't matter whether they're blind or deaf. Do not disrespect them. Or put a stumbling block in front of them. But shall fear your God. I am Yahweh. So you shall have fear for your God. And because you have fear for him, you shall listen to what he has to say. No, you shall do injustice in judgment. You shall not be unfair in judgment. Not you shall be partial to the person poor. No, honor the person of mighty. So it doesn't matter what their status is. Everyone's to be treated equally. In righteousness you shall judge your neighbor. Not you shall go about as a talebearer. What is a talebearer? A slanderer, an informer among your people. So do not be a gossiper. Nor shall you take a stand against the life of your neighbor. I am Yahweh. Not you shall hate your brother in your heart. Surely you shall rebuke your neighbor and not bear because of him sin. So you're free to rebuke him. Just don't hate him. Don't bear against him. Sin. So don't have sin against him, basically. This would be like don't have hatred, which would be murder. Don't want ill will on him or anything like that. Want good for him. Not you shall take vengeance, nor bear any grudge. What kind of grudges? Any grudge against the sons of your people. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh. Okay, so these are more rules. My statutes or my rules, you shall keep your livestock. Not you shall let breed with another kind of your field. So keep each animal according to its kind. And you shall sow, now they're talking about seeds, with mixed seed and a garment mixed of linen and wool, nor shall you come upon. Amen. So basically in those days, you were not allowed to wear clothes that were mixed fabrics. A man, if he lies with a woman lying sewing, and she is a concubine betrothed to a man, meaning she's engaged, and at all not who has been redeemed, or nor freedom given her, meaning if she's still under that engagement, if she's still under that bound, scourging for this there shall be. You shall be scourged. Punishment. Okay? Compensation. But they shall be put to death, because not she was free. And it says they, not just him. They. Even if it's so basically one side is to be put to death because they were the one that chased after this woman who was not free, and the woman's to be put to death as well because she's the one that consented to it. And he shall bring his trespass offering to Yahweh to the door of the tabernacle of the meeting, a ram and a trespass offering, and shall make atonement for him, the priest, with the ram before Yahweh for his sin which he has committed, and shall be forgiven the sin of him which he has committed. Now, that almost sounds like that's actually saying the opposite of what I just said, that they shall not be killed. A man, if he lies with a woman, sewing, and she is a concubine, and is a concubine betrothed to a man at all, not who is redeemed. I would have to see this in English, so let me pause this and go look at English. Okay, so as you see here, we have various laws. These are laws of God. So when it does say, you shall not lie, and of course there's going to be an ad pops up. Lovely. Get off my screen! Dude, get off my screen. Okay, so sorry about that. So let's see. We have, and of course there's always stupid stuff that pops up left and right. Stupid ads. Need to get a life. Right here, verse 11. Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another. So that is a law. That is in the law. It's just not in the Ten Commandments. Now, where is it? Right here. This is the part we're reading. If a man sleeps with a female slave who is promised to another man, but who has not been ransomed or given her freedom, meaning she's not free, there must be due punishment. Yet they are not to be put to death. So yeah, that was what I was thinking, because I'm thinking to myself, why would it say be put to death right here if later on it's saying he has to go make a trespass offering? So yeah, it's not killing them. So I was wrong on that. And when you come into the land and have planted all kinds of trees for food, then shall count as uncircumcised of their fruit 3 years. It shall be for you as uncircumcised, not shall be eaten. Basically, the food's not ready. But in the year 4th shall be all its fruit holy, a praise to Yahweh. And in the year 5th, you may, so in the 5th year, you may eat its fruit, that it may yield to you its increase. I am Yahweh your God. More rules. Not you shall eat anything with blood, nor shall you practice divination or soothsaying. What is soothsaying? Practicing divination. Okay. Not you shall shave around the edges of your head, nor shall you disfigure the edges of your beard, and any cuttings for the dead. That would be any tattoos in your flesh dedicated to the dead. And it would mean incision or cut. So tattoos do apply. Not you shall make in your flesh, and any marks nor tattoo on you. I am Yahweh your God. Now, here's the thing. With the Old Testament, you actually have to figure out which of these things were completed in Christ and which ones were not. Okay? Because Christ said, I have come to fulfill the law. So the Old Testament, we know, is the law. Okay? And my point being that even though Christ fulfilled the law on our behalf, and lying and the Ten Commandments and all of these things, those are in the old law. What would it mean that lying is okay now? No, obviously not. That would be stupid. Same as murdering people, like basically murdering someone, killing them, or anything like that. Specifically murdering. Would it be something that would still be applicable today? So this is a tough conversation, to be honest with you, because you have to understand which things. So, like, for example, where it says, "You shall not cut the edges of your beard." That obviously can't be still applicable. Shave the around the sides of your head. That obviously can't be applicable. Soothsaying, practicing divination, eating blood, probably still applicable. The the thing I'm unsure about is which ones are still applicable and which ones are not. And you would have to actually figure that out. And let's see if we can find this out by Googling. Okay, so as you see on screen, right, most Christians and Jews would say killing, stealing, adultery are still a thing. Uh, then they have this section. Old Testament teachings about sexual ethics would likely still apply. But it does say here, none of the Old Testament law is binding. When Jesus died on the cross, he put an end to the Old Testament law. Um, so then we have this here. In one sense, all 613 of the Old Testament laws apply today. In another sense, none of them do. Um, and this is what this says. We make distinctions among the ceremonial law, the dietary law, and the civil law, and the moral law. To the Jew, every law commanded by God in the Old Testament. But basically, if I'm getting this right, okay, if I'm understanding this right, it is very confusing. This is something that, I'll be honest, it confuses me even now. I know for example, that the dietary laws, I know that's gone. Jesus made that simple when he said, nothing goes into a man that makes a man unclean. It's what comes out that pollutes him. That referencing that the dietary law does no longer make you sinful, as far as I know. The civil law, like what you're supposed to do, like things like you can't date other races and this and that and all these different things. The ceremonial laws, like you got to do these mandates of doing these sacrifices and all that stuff, right? The moral law, for sure, I know stands. The moral section, the moral law, which is where this where we're up here, where you see the sexual ethics, that would be part of moral law. Um, So let's see if we can dig a bit deeper while we're doing this video. Okay, so I basically pulled up what is the ceremonial laws. These for sure have been done away with. It is laws for Israel, for worship, purity, and separation from neighboring nations. What's included in it? In the Hebrew, it's hakim, the Old Testament ceremonial laws, rules for atonement, including animal sacrifices. We know that's done away with because Christ was the final offering sacrifice. The purity laws, such as clean and unclean foods and touching a dead body and handling bodily fluids, that's done away with, I'm pretty sure. Regulations for priesthood conduct, temple rituals, and all this stuff, that's done away with. Now, here's the thing. As we see here, Christians believe these laws were fulfilled through Jesus Christ's ultimate suffering, rendering them obsolete for current practice. New Testament believers are not bound by the dietary law or ceremonial purity laws, as emphasized in Galatians 3, and by Jesus declaring all foods clean. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, all foods are clean. So that's one of them. That's the ceremonial law. Let's see if we can find out. Okay, so here we have civil laws of the Old Testament. These laws were aimed at maintaining social order. Things like slave regulations, social responsibility, debt, injury. Some of these definitely would still apply for sure. We don't have slavery anymore for most places, so that one likely is not to apply. Debt would apply if you're in debt. Personal injury might apply. Property rights would apply. Um, Animal cruelty would apply. Criminal justice would apply. Crimes, penalties for crimes would apply. Civil laws are different from ceremonial laws. Rituals and sacrifices are ceremonial laws and moral laws. Most Christians believe that these laws were fulfilled and superseded by Jesus. Now, here's the thing. I don't think Jesus goes, okay, murder is all of a sudden okay, or kidnapping is all of a sudden okay, or adultery, or being in debt, or personal injury, or property is now gone away with. Okay. Um, Now, there are pieces, as we see here. Punishment for stoning someone who broke a law, likely not happen, but you know for a fact, even today, if you murder someone, you're likely to get death row or be in prison for the rest of your life or something, right? So there are pieces of it that are definitely there. And it's one of those things where you just gotta, without getting too into it, you have to look at all the different types of laws in the Old Testament, and then you have to look at the New Testament and say, is there anything in the New Testament which would reveal that this piece of the Old Testament law is done away with, such as eating foods? We know that's done away with because Jesus emphasized that. We know that the sacrifices are done away with because Jesus was the sacrifice, final sacrifice. Um, we know that all foods are made clean now. Okay. We know that uh, stealing, killing, lying, all that stuff is still wrong. It will always be wrong no matter what. But I hope this at least gives a little bit of context to you about some of this stuff. So pieces of the civil law would apply still. The moral law would definitely apply. Ceremonial law is done away with. Dietary law is done away with. Although you could still have some consequences for eating specific foods. But anyway, let's continue. Um, and so in here, cutting your beards, probably done away with. Um, Shaving your head, done away with. Soothsaying, probably still active. Practicing divination, I know that's active because even the New Testament warns against it. Eating blood, um, I don't think it's smart in any way, shape, or form to do that. Um, you shall not have any marks or tattoo on yourself. Not do prostitute your daughter. That that makes perfect sense. Don't have your family members doing adultery. To cause her to be a harlot and least fall into harlotry, the land, and uh, become full of the land wickedness. My Sabbaths you shall keep. That's likely still applicable. And my sanctuary reverence. Although I have heard that Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath, and that as long as you have a Sabbath day, it doesn't matter what day it is. That's just something I've heard. I can't verify that yet. No, give regard to mediums. That's definitely don't hang out with wrong spirits. Not do seek after them to be defiled by them. I am Yahweh your God. So that would likely definitely still be applicable for sure. Mediums are like people trying to talk to the dead. We know that God doesn't allow that, even now. Familiar spirits, anything that would be similar to that. This part, before you're the gray-haired, you shall rise and honor the presence of an old man. That's like, have respect for a person's age. They lived their life. That's applicable. I am Yahweh your God, basically. If dwells with you a stranger of your land, not you shall mistreat him. That's applicable because we know love your neighbor as yourself. As one born among you shall be to the stranger who dwells among you, and you shall love him as yourself. Right there, summed up exactly what Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. For strangers you were in the land of Egypt, I am Yahweh your God. So basically reminding you, hey, you were once a stranger too. No, you shall do injustice. You shall not do injustice in judgment, in measurement lengths of weight or volume. So basically, don't be honest in any sort of way, whether it's scales, volume, weights, honest, you shall be. I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe all my statutes and all judgments and perform them. I am Yahweh. So the essence of saying that point about I am Yahweh your God is the things that are still applicable, try to keep those things because of the fact that you love God and because he reminds you where you used to be lost, you used to be not a believer of God, now you are a believer of God and you are his, and because of that, you should respect his rules. And I hope that this has at least been a little bit informational for you. It has for me, definitely. I have to do this right, but I want to make a list of rules of the Ten Commandments plus these rules in the Old Testament, but I only want to write down the ones that I know are applicable to me now. And to do that, I would have to research each one, so that's going to take a little bit of work to do. But when I get it done, I will write them down on my TikTok and share them on all of social media so that people can see which ones are applicable and which ones are not. Okay? In any case, be blessed and take care. Love you guys.